So this was a really great question I got from a student, and I typed out this beautiful response, and then MyOpenMath deleted it. So instead of crying, I'm going to make another video, and MyOpenMath can't delete this one. So when we think of width, we tend to think of width going horizontally. Because when you're in geometry, you think of this as being a rectangle's width. And that's totally fine for geometry. But that conception, that image in your brain can cause some problems in statistics when we talk about frequency distribution tables. So, what I want to do is use the formula in your notes, which I think it's got a lot of words in it, and words can be tricky in statistics because there's so much vocabulary involved. And you use the class width a little bit differently when you're constructing a table versus when you're just trying to calculate it. Let me get this set up. Okay, now realize too that when you're constructing a frequency distribution, all of this is a suggestion. You and I could set up a frequency distribution for the same set of data, and they could look different and still both be completely acceptable. So, some of this is up to you on how you use it. Select the number of classes, usually between 5 and 20. And sometimes you may change the number of classes you want when you start looking at the numbers. So we're just going to make up some data. Let's say we measure bananas at the grocery store because you were really bored one day. And your minimum measurement is 42 centimeters. And your maximum measurement is 96 centimeters. I'm making this up completely, so if those don't make sense for banana measurements, it'll be okay. This says to decide on the number of classes you want. I'm going to say maybe 6 classes. And depending on what you pick, sometimes you can end up with an extra one at the end. So you might end up with 7 classes depending on how things fall out, and that's okay. But that's what we're shooting for. So for constructing my frequency table, I need the class width. And I'm going to find that by doing the maximum minus the minimum divided by the number of classes I'm shooting for. Now, because I love you and I am terrible with arithmetic, I am going to double check that I did my arithmetic correctly earlier. This is 54. Ms. Graham, you're the statistics teacher. You should be able to subtract and add in your head. Yeah, let me live my life. and then we divide by 6. So this 9 is my class width. And right now, you may be coming up with a picture in your head with the width going from side to side, but width goes up and down for frequency distributions. So we are going to choose the bottom of our first class. Now, honestly, y'all, this 42 is the minimum for our data. I can choose a different value if it makes my life easier. I want to contain the 40, so I'm going to set up, or the 42. So I'm going to make my first class for the sake of easier numbers, start at 40. Because I really like adding with zeros. Now, it's not going to make my life easier in a little bit, but that's okay. Then for my second class, I'm going to add my class width. That means my second class is going to start at 49. Then I add 9. And that means my third class starts at 58. I don't like that those are not evenly spaced with the rest. If I add my class width again, I land at 67. I should have made bigger classes. Um, 76. I add 9 again. 85. And we're getting a couple of extra classes, and that's totally fine. The point is all of our classes are evenly spaced. I land at 94. And that 94 is going to be big enough to catch our maximum of a 96. So now these are the upper bounds, or erase that from your brain, the lower limits. Now I need to find my upper limits. Usually, I want about 1 unit between class 1 and class 2. So my upper limit would be 49, or 48. Plus 1 gives me 49. 8 more would be 57. And then I go to 58 for third class. 66. And then 75. And then 84. And 93. If I add 9 to 93, I get 102. So that gives me my lower limits and my upper limits. Now let's say this was already given to you. Chart's already in there. And question number 15 it's not, but pretend it was, says find the class width of the table to the left. This is where you do the lower limit of class 2 minus the lower limit of class 1, or any other two lower limits, as long as you pick them next to each other. So 2 and 3, or 3 and 4, 4 and 5. So this would be 49 minus 40 gives me a class width of 9. So if you're confused about how those two formulas work together, hopefully this gives you a little bit better idea